action.
We're going to show the drivers here two different units that we have and how to operate the units. What we're first going to do is show you a visual inspection, what you need to do before you haul the unit. One, basically check the oil, make sure the oil is up to level. And it is. Two, check the belts, make sure the belts are on the alternator and then the fan assemblies. And everything looks pretty good, no dry cracks in the belts. You can check your alternator or your battery connections. Then basically what we're going to do is come around here, go ahead and start the unit up. And here, when you start it, we have a white T on our display, which is good for a driver to look in his mirrors. Basically, check the operation of the unit. As you can see, a white T, everything's good. An orange K would be there is something wrong with the unit. It will still run, but if it has 3 dots along the bottom, that means it's essential that you stop and check the unit out. Okay. You gotta get on cycle sentry. Here's your cycle sentry and your continuous run. What you want to do before you start it, push it up to cycle sentry and flick the switch on. You'll hear a buzzer come on, and that will tell you that the glow plugs are heating for a start, as you can hear it right now.
Does it have to be on cycle sentry to?
Yeah, it has to be on cycle sentry for it to go through its automatic setting. If you have it on continuous run, you will physically have to pull the switch down to preheat and then push the switch back up to start, to manually start. But as long as it's on cycle sentry, all you do is you flick the switch up, it'll automatically start by itself. Basically what it does is it's got a timer on the glow plugs. It'll heat them and then automatically go into a start itself.
So right now when we're looking at the display, what does the 3941 on top mean and what's the 65 mean?
The 39, 40 degree is flashing now, running back and forth. Is basically showing you what the box temperature is, and the 65 degrees is showing you where the temperature is set at for your load. And to adjust the load or adjust the temperature on this unit, you'll basically.
Can you do it with it off so they can hear you?
I could probably put it on continuous and then do it.
Okay.
To adjust the box temperature on it, there is a set point here. The green button on the left here is up. You'll see it saying 65. This one here is blue. It's the down arrow. And as you can see, as I'm pushing it, the temperature setting is coming down. And basically, if you have a 30 degree load, you'll bring it down to 30. Press the enter button on the Thermal King, and it'll say load, and that will set that temperature to where your what is that? Your load paper?
Yeah, your bill of lading.
Your bill of lading recommends it is where they want their load at.
So you always need to be checking your bill of lading on any reefer loads to double check where the temp set needs to be.
Correct. Then basically, on the continuous run, you will pull this preheat down. You'll hear that buzzer going off, and then you will actually push it up, and it'll start manually. On cycle sentry, like I said, you do not have to do anything. You just turn it on. It'll automatically go into it. If you turn it on and for some reason you see an orange K up here, there's an issue with the reefer so far as throwing a code. And what you'll end up doing is hitting this code button, and you hit that code button, it'll say alarm 00. That means that there is no codes in this system at this time. But if there is a code in it, it'll have a number, and what you will want to do on the inside of this door, it has all the numbers and what the code corresponds with. Basically, then at that time you'll need to call the shop, and we'll walk you guys through how to fix it, or where basically to get the reefer repaired at. Set close lights. Pre-cooling the reefer. Firing up the unit. Let it run. When you put it on cycle century, like I said, you know, it'll automatically start as soon as you turn it on.
And we prefer that they stay on cycle century because it saves fuel. That flips them on and off when they get to set temp and whatnot. If they're on continuous run, that's what they're going to do. They're just going to continue to run the entire time. So we're saving fuel when it's on cycle century, and we'll show you what the carrier is. It's start-stop mode on the carrier. So.
Right, correct. When we start this unit, what we want to do is let this carrier run for about 5 minutes. There are two sensors. One sensor reading the output air, one sensor reading the input air. What we're trying to do for 5 minutes there, we're trying to stabilize the air temperature, get them more closer together. What it does, it takes the output air and the input air, and basically they got to be within a range. So what we're doing is basically start it up, let it run for about 5 minutes, and then while it's running, after 5 minutes, you will end up pushing the TK button. It will say pre up here, which means pre-trip on a Thermal King. Carrier would say PPP, which we'll get to that. And then once we hit the Thermal King button here, and it says pre for pre-trip, we will also hit the enter button on this Thermal King, and that will automatically put us into a pre-trip. It will go through its cycles, it will shut down, it'll test all the functions, and once it's done, it'll come up on the screen as pass, P-A-S-S. And once you do that, and it's at its pass point, you can actually hit the select button. It'll return you back to your main screen so far as your temperatures and all that stuff. Then basically you will need to, you know, just go ahead and make sure your rear doors are closed, and any of that stuff before you go load.
Now on the defrost cycle, what's it do on the defrost cycle? How often does it happen, and what shouldn't they freak out about if they're looking at the readout during a defrost cycle?
On this Thermal King, there's a defrost emblem. There's actually a defrost. It's the third one down on this one here. It'll come up and it'll almost look like a smiley face. When it is in defrost, you will see water. More than likely, you'll see water coming out of here. What it does,
out of that tube.
Out of this tube, a lot of drivers will worry when it's in a defrost because they will see a temperature spike. Let's say it's at -20, you're trying to unload ice cream. This reefer has got to get up into the range of about 42 degrees. And what it does is it shuts a dampener door off to the reefer. The box will stay at your set temperature. You know, it'll range a little bit. What it does is there's a door that shuts that off, and it blows hot air across the coil. It melts the ice off, and that's what you're going to see coming down through the tubes here. That reading, when it gets up to 42 degrees, a lot of drivers worry, hey, my reefer's not doing the correct functions, or, you know, it's heating up and they're worried about, you know, losing the load. Check that defrost emblem. If it's in defrost, and like I said, your temperature's up, you know, it will, you know, basically after it reaches 42 degrees, it will come back down to its desired temperature.